Greetings, friends. My last video about Colion Noir generated a number of unfriendly comments. I guess I was kind of poking people, so that wasn't entirely unsurprising. But none of these comments seemed to engage with what I was saying. They didn't seem to understand what I was saying. It seemed to go right over their heads. So I'll address some of the comments at the end, but there was this idea that people had that I wasn't making any points. I thought I made various points, but maybe there's too many slow boys. Maybe I need to spell it out for you. Maybe you don't understand implication, or you don't understand what I'm referring to. For example, when he's talking about big government being the big enemy, I made a comment, well, okay, so the city is going to be run by Facebook and the tech companies and Amazon. So that's making at least one point. There's probably 6 or 7 other points that could be made. But I'm taking my audience to have a higher intelligence level, so I don't always have to spell things out for you. But for some of you, maybe I need to do that for you. It's not really about guns. That's the thing. Like, I don't know what people think, like I'm against guns. No, guns are probably fine in the right situation with the right training. Probably a good thing. But that's not the issue. Just like that stupid news cycle is not the issue here. It's about how Colion Noir has a dumb worldview. And judging by these comments, I can infer that a lot of his followers also have a dumb worldview, and perhaps if you have a dumb worldview, you may be dumb yourself, or you may move on from that to a more intelligent worldview. Now, I haven't seen too many videos from Colion Noir, and I can see that he and I are probably not too far apart in age. I'm 37, but all I get from him as I watch his videos is whiny boomer, whiny boomer, whiny boomer, complaining, exclaiming, lamenting, urging. He believes in rights. And I can make the argument that rights is a left-wing thing. And I mean, yes, there's nuance. If we go back into centuries past, there were like rights to the commons, and there were certain rights, of course, but without opening that would be a whole other discussion. But that discussion is not really necessary because it's just details. Rights are not fundamentally a real thing. They were not fundamentally a real thing in centuries past. It's a recent thing that comes out of the Enlightenment, but I'm sure this is already going over you slow boys' heads. The alarm bells are going off, and I must be some like anti-gun rights person. No, you have stupid people pushing your stupid gun rights agenda. If you want to save guns and have more people owning guns, why don't you get someone who's actually a conservative, someone who's actually right-wing to push for guns? How about that? Not a stupid libertarian or someone who believes in the Republican Party. Rights are fake. Rights don't exist. Well, they exist so much as they're socially constructed. But if men decided that these certain rights aren't going to exist anymore, then that's that. Because men enforce the rules through the threat of force, and often through physical force. That's what's real, and that's what you understand. I'll give you that. You understand that guns are important because guns are real power. That's the real thing. I can give you guys that, but then you believe that rights are guaranteeing you something. Rights are just propositions. They depend on the society to believe in them, and there has to be a cultural unity for that to occur. Rights are just a made-up thing, but yes, they can be real socially, but they don't even carry metaphysical weight the way that other metaphysical categories do, like numbers, concepts or ideas, the sense of self-identity over time. These things are fundamental to reality. Things like rights, those are just like passing by, like the way like newspaper articles pass by. There's different ideologies that come and go. You think it's built on something fundamental that comes from God? No, it doesn't. If you take a Christian perspective, there's nothing particularly Christian about rights, at least in their modern formulation. They're revolutionary. Even a fairy tale has more significance than any Bill of Rights, because fairy tales have more imprint on the public imagination than rights do. Because most people don't care about rights, and the rulers might only cynically care about rights as a way to sell you this false version of how the world works, and you buy into it. And to an extent, Colion Noir buys into the worldview handed to him by revolutionaries. The US Constitution is gay, libertarianism is gay. If you value these things, then you're just another liberal. I'll grant you that you're not the Democrats, you're not the woke, but you're still part of the culture that gives rise to the degeneracy and to the societal breakdown. Hey, I was guilty of it too when I was younger, but then I got older and I grew up. Democracy is left-wing. Republics are left-wing. Yeah, there may be different levels on the spectrum, but they're all built on rejecting monarchy. They have revolution built into their essence. So you want to sell me on why we need guns? I mean, I already believe to an extent we do need guns, but I have a better coherent explanation or account for why. Can you actually tell me why in a way that makes sense? Can you find an actual conservative to do the explaining and not a bunch of figurative boomers? Colion Noir said in his previous video, the one I was commenting on from a few days ago, he said that the Republicans and Libertarians aren't going to take away your gun rights.
I keep trying to tell my liberal gun owners about the Democrat Party. They're the only party that tries to do things like this. The Libertarian Party doesn't do this. The Republican Party doesn't do this. It's always the mush-mouth Democrats always trying to restrict people's rights under the Second Amendment.
And then he just put out a video today where he's lamenting that Republicans voted for gun control. Well, not all Republicans, but 14 of them went with the Democrats.
So it's come out that Biden is going to be using his executive powers and direct ATF to issue a rule that would essentially ban the private sale of guns. You see, last year, 14 Republicans in the House and 15 Republicans in the Senate voted with the Democrats to pass this bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
It must be really depressing watching Colion Noir's YouTube channel. You're constantly being reminded of how the walls are closing in on you, how you're losing all your gun rights constantly. Maybe small victories here and there, but clearly the overall war is not going well. Not only are you being reminded of this constantly, but you're also torturing yourself with this double think. You're forcing yourself to, on the one hand, think that the Republicans are going to save you, and on the other hand, the Republicans aren't saving you. You're getting angry at the Republicans, they're not saving us, but we got to vote for the Republicans and stop these Democrats. That must be like very unpleasant to keep maintaining that tension. Now let's look at some of these comments here. Lucian Christoph says, when you're sheltered and live in a nice area and have never been at the mercy of someone else or even been in a fight before, somehow makes your opinion more important than those who've experienced the opposite. The thing about this nation is you can choose if you want a gun or not, regardless of how you feel it's right. Well, I don't have a problem with people owning guns, and I don't disagree with anything the guy's saying there. Did anything I said in my video, like, did he understand anything? Did it go completely over your head? I don't even disagree with anything of that. What does that got to do with anything? Yeah, of course, I agree. Like, when you're around certain groups of people who are liable to commit crimes and threaten you, you're going to want to defend yourself with the best means available. But what's stupid is you think a proposition on a piece of paper is going to save you. You believe in the gun is a real thing that's going to protect you, or some other men on your side who come with guns or come with some other weapon, but probably a gun. Yeah, you understand that, but then you believe a paper? You believe, well, wider society, they're going to believe in it too, right? We imported the third world, we imported the entire world into North America, but yeah, they're all going to believe in these principles too. They'll enforce these principles, right? You think principles that were laid down by the founding fathers, men who were mostly of British ancestry, in the English tradition, going back to John Locke and that kind of intellectual tradition. You think that now people from Uzbekistan and Suriname are going to have the same way of thinking about how laws should be enforced and how humans should be restricted in terms of their freedoms. Why would you come to that assumption? That's so naive. Jeff Smith says, the wonderful thing about this country and its constitution is that it does not require you to live here. Well, I mean, I don't live in America, I live in Canada. And what does that comment have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? Yee-hoo says, what part of shall not be infringed you don't understand? Look, I don't have a real problem with the actual Second Amendment. I'm just saying nobody cares about the Second Amendment because most people don't. And like our enemies don't care about it, and most of the peasant class doesn't care about it. Just you guys, I guess. And also, it's dumb and it doesn't back you up. Okay, it's founded on air. That's my point about the Second Amendment. Is that the same idea that rights don't exist? And you're attributing something to the writing and to a proposition which may or may not actually be enforced. It may just be completely ignored, and it is being ignored by the powers that be. It says, a well-regulated militia keeping necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but what if you've got like another people or another, what if you've got like a revolt, or you've got a situation where someone's gonna start a civil war, do a disturbance, you might have to suspend that right. So then maybe that if you have to suspend it for certain reasons, then it can't really be never infringed. So already it's problematic. I don't disagree that that's a nice ideal to aim towards. A lot of other things would have to work well to have this principle functioning well, so to speak, because you need the patriarchy. You would need men to be at the head of the household again. Men would have to have a certain amount of respect. Mark Martinez says, get out of your parents' basement. Well, I mean, I haven't lived with my parents for like, 20 years? I don't know. My mother is no longer with us, and I live in an apartment on the second floor of a house. So I angled my camera towards this wall because there's less clutter and it's more just plain. It's not a great background, but maybe it looks like I'm in a basement. No, I'm on the second floor. I have actually quite great natural light, quite a nice window that lets in plenty of light. I love it. I have an office. I have a central room where I sleep. I have filmed some videos in that room. I have my own small kitchen, my own bathroom. It's just a cozy little apartment, but I'm not in my parents' basement. Gravy4212 says, this guy is joking, right? No, I'm not joking, but you guys are the joke. And you do deserve to be made fun of. Chris Kaldumsky says, what a maroon. I think you meant to say, what a moron? Because moron, you would spell that M-O-R-O-N. Maroon is like either the color maroon, or it's like someone who's marooned on an island, like you're stranded on an island. I don't think you're trying to say that I'm marooned on an island. From Carl Perry, yeah, not sure what point you're trying to make. Well, I mean, I think I explained, I made 4 or 5 points there. What point are you making? What's your point? What do you mean you're not sure? What do you mean? You can't make connections based on what I was saying there? Really? How about at least the point about why do you support the Republicans? How about that? Or do you support the Republicans? Okay, Nebby Games, so much of what you said had no content at all. Oh, really? Just another claim. John Anderson says, go get your next booster. Well, I didn't get a single one. I didn't get any of the stupid vaxes. I didn't get a single one. I'm not vaccinated. I was protesting with the freedom people for a while. I knew they would be stupid freedom people there. I knew, and inevitably there's only stupid people left there. But I was on all the marches from the beginning. I was at Queen's Park every Saturday at noon for like a year and a half, practically a year and a half straight. I went on numerous marches. I went to Ottawa, I did all that stuff, knowing full well that I was just marching with liberals, because that's just, it's okay, that's the default paradigm. Most of us are liberals, that's how we're brought up. But you're supposed to grow up out of that. But people don't really grow up these days. They become permanent boomers. Boomers are no longer just literal boomers. Many millennials could be boomers. Certainly many Gen X's could be boomers. I don't know, maybe there'll be Zoomers who are boomers. Yay's Auto Adventures. How do I have 8,000 subs? Well, I have 8,000 subs because when I started my channel, I did some MGTOW videos, which YouTube really liked MGTOW, and it, at least at that time it did. Maybe no. I'm no longer into that, but I don't believe with all that flow. You know, that's the thing. I pumped out some videos that I no longer necessarily even agree with because YouTube liked some of my paranormal discussions. It liked that. It liked the New Age video I did. I'm no longer into New Age, of course. I totally renounced that stuff, and I turned to Orthodoxy and was converted. But yes, early on in my YouTube days from 2016, well, really from 2017 is pretty much when my channel started. I did have always success because I can look, if I wanted to have more reach, then I would just tell people what they want to hear. You know, I would just tell people, well, this is, you know, this is great. God is everything. We're all love, and love is oh, you know, the Matrix this, and you got to escape, man, and like freedom. I would just tell people all this bullshit, and you know, then you'd have at least more of a following. But no, that's not fulfilling. It's more fulfilling to sometimes poke people like you, because you need to be poked. I don't know. That's how I boosted up to 8,000. But as we can see, like the number of your subs is totally irrelevant. To me, it's always been completely irrelevant. My viewership has always been pretty much between 100 to 300 views. And I guess if you make a catchy thumbnail and a provocative title, you can get maybe a few more 100 views to come in. John Doe says low T level sense. Okay, yeah, that's standard. That's like, hey, you're a soy boy, you're a low T levels. When I was criticizing Bjorn Andreas Bull Hansen, someone left a comment like, here we've got a soy jack. I'm the soy jack. I'm the skinny soy boy. And then I think he was saying Bjorn is like the Chad. Bjorn Andreas Bull Hansen is the Chad. Look, he's a masculine guy, but first of all, he rejects the Christian God. So can you really be a Chad? Can you really be fully masculine if you reject the one true God? Because there's only one true God, so. Back to Colion Noir fans. Lucian Christoph again. He says, what point did he make? How did he not understand who the enemy of the people are? Well, who do you think sells you this liberal worldview? These rights, the Constitution, revolutionaries sold that to you. So you bought into the revolutionary worldview. Those are your enemy. You think the revolutionaries are your friend? They're your enemy. America and all this Constitution bullshit is founded on a revolutionary ideology. And you're asking, what's the point of my video? Well, that's partly the point. Whatever you think about gun rights, a lot of the gun people seem to have the revolutionary spirit, and that's not a good thing. That's bad. That's bad for America. With the revolutionary spirit, that's bad. Bad. The left is also revolutionary. The woke left. They're also revolutionary. But we the people, you know, with our guns, you know, it's like screw you. You rebelled against monarchy. I don't have any respect for your stupid liberal tradition. And then he says there was literally no context of the solution whatsoever. It sounded like someone starting a sentence with absolutely no topic or narrative. Like, what did we just watch? He didn't even understand you just watched me commenting on what Colion Noir was saying. His whole foundational worldview, he was giving me plenty to work with. He believes in the U.S. Constitution, rights, stupid. He believes we should vote for the Republicans and the Libertarians. Yeah, that's going to help us out. So he believes in democracy, stupid, democracy sucks, democracy's not great, Democracy is not conservative, it's not right wing. So what? Rob the Rebel says, who the F are you? Well, I don't know. Who are you? Why are you watching my video? Why are you on my channel? Who the heck are you? I'm a YouTuber. I produce content. Do you? I produce content and I've basically never taken any donations ever, except there was one guy at Queen's Park who would give me a $5 bill when I came, but that was in person. I've never received online donations. I do this because it's fun. You know, I work in factories and I like biking and yeah, I'm an Orthodox Christian, so who are you? Rob the Rebel, are you a rebel? Are you a rebel? Nate16632, he says, you have no clue what you're even getting into. I guess in the same sentence of Colion Noir on guns. Lol, I'm not going to comment on %100 tax on AR magazines. Yeah, this'll close out my video because this comment is interesting. Why don't I want to comment on the stupid news cycle? Well, first of all, for the same reason I avoid the news. The only news I'm plugged into is the Russia-Ukraine. Like when I come home from work and I'm making dinner, I'm listening to my podcast, filling me in. I get my content from a few individuals. I don't have a television or anything like that. I don't watch any mainstream news network. I would only rarely look at mainstream news headlines just to see, okay, what is the mainstream? How are they reacting to things? But it is very draining and fruitless to absorb yourself in the news cycle of political developments. That's the kind of thing the YouTuber Styx Hexenhammer built his channel doing. He just basically followed the news cycle between the Democrats and the Republicans and sometimes economic stuff. None of this matters in the end. So knowing how this or that bill passed in the Congress or in the Senate is not worth getting your emotions worked up, either for the positive or for the negative. I'm not saying you shouldn't have any idea what's going on in the world. You should. But that's fundamentally a spiritual thing. That's a moral realization we come to as we get older. We can't stop the beast system that's coming. That's impossible. But I am saying that being plugged into the news cycle is toxic. Even in my consumption of online content about Russia, Ukraine, I find myself tiring of it, realizing that most of the time the details don't matter in the end. So that's what I was getting at when I said I'm not going to comment on these news stories that he's bringing up. Why? What's the point of getting caught up in stupid details? Like you can. I don't fault him for commenting on it, but to say that I'm missing something because I'm not addressing this like very specific worldly thing. Yeah, we know how politicians are crooked. They're all crooked. We know that. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to work to make this world a bad place, a worse place. That's what they're going to do. Now we can try to live morally. We can try to build ourselves up and build a better society. And that gets into a whole other discussion here, which I don't have the space to. But obviously that involves religion, subservience to monarchy and tradition. And seems like all of you fans or followers of Colion were all riled up. Seems like most of you reject those things. So none of you guys are conservatives as far as I can see. Hasta luego, amigos.